Hi everybody, and welcome to Jewell Family Farm. Today I'm going to be making a really old recipe that comes from the Civil War era, 1863. I found this recipe in an old book that was called West and Johnson's from Richmond. And so I'm going to make this recipe today, and I hope you'll join us. Okay, so this is a very easy recipe, and it calls for 3 small eggs or 2 large eggs, 2 cups of milk, which I'm going to use 1 cup of carnation evaporated milk, and then I'm going to use 1 cup of whole milk, 1 cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, and 1 cup of cooked rice. Now to that you can also add cinnamon and raisins. That's optional. And I'm going to sprinkle the top with some nutmeg, a caramel sauce. And for the caramel sauce, that's 3 tablespoons of butter, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of water. And you're going to cook that on the stove until it thickens up. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crack our eggs. We're going to use the eggs from our chickens. We're getting all kinds of different colored eggs right now. These are from my Rhode Island Reds, and you can see how big they are compared to some of the little Easter eggers that I have. You can see the difference in the size. These are really, you see they're half of my hand, and this is a lot smaller. But I'm going to use 2 large eggs, or you can use 3 small eggs. Let me pour them out. I'm going to go ahead and pour the butter in. And that was 3 tablespoons of butter. I'll crack my eggs in here. I bet this is a double yolker. Yep, look at that. 2 yolks. Can you see it? 2 yolks. This might be a double yolker too. Nope, it's just got 1. It's a little bit larger than the other 2. Can you see the difference? Alright, so I'm going to pour that in there with the butter. I'll whisk it up a little bit. Break it up. Alright, and then we're going to add in 1 cup of sugar. Mix all that up. Now this recipe doesn't call for vanilla, but you can probably add a little vanilla to it if you want to. I'm probably going to add a little bit to it. But you don't have to do that. I'm just adding some. This wasn't in the recipe, but I want to put it in there. Alright, and then we're going to add 1 cup of canned milk. And you don't have to use canned milk either. I'm doing a variation of this recipe. So I'm putting 1 cup of canned milk and 1 cup of whole milk, but you can just use the 2 cups of whole milk. Or you can use half cream and half milk. There's 1. You use what you have. That's what I do. You can mix and match things all the time. You don't have to go exactly by the recipe. Some things you do, and other things you don't. But I use what I have on hand. I try not to do recipes that I have to run out to the store to buy all the stuff just to make that recipe. Because a lot of times you don't use the stuff that you buy again, except for that one recipe. So I try not to do that. Now sometimes I will splurge a little bit, but not too often. Alright, so I cooked this rice yesterday because I knew I was going to make this pudding today. And you want cooked rice, but you want it cooled. You don't want to put hot rice in here. And this is cooked rice. This is not minute rice. This is rice, and what I did was I think it was 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice right out of the bag, and you take this rice right out of the bag, and you like a cup of rice, and you put it in a bowl and you wash it, and you get all the starch out of it before you cook it. And you have 2 cups of water boiling with a little bit of salt in it on the stove, and then once you wash your rice out of the, once you pour it into the bowl out of the bag, then you pour it into your hot boiling water and you cook it. Follow the directions on the bag. But 1 cup of rice. Where'd my whisk go? Here it is. This was one of my favorite things that my grandma made, and I absolutely loved her rice pudding. And she even showed me how to make it once when I was young. I didn't write it down, or I might have wrote it down, but I lost it. I'm not sure. This is years ago. I was probably about 17 or 18 years old. I think I was about 18 years old when she showed me how to make it. And I have yet to get my rice pudding to taste like my grandma's, and I miss that so much. And I have been trying and trying and trying for years. And it's this same recipe pretty much, but it just does not taste like hers. And maybe it's just because she just not making it. My dad says I'll never get it to taste like her, so I don't know. I keep trying. I'm going to take a little bit of butter, and I'm going to run it around my pan here. Grease my pan up. You can use any kind of a baking dish that you like. I just like to use this one because that's the one she used. She always made her rice pudding in a little bread pan. At least that's what I remember. Just pour it in. Now, like I said, you can add raisins to this. You need to add your raisins to it before you pour it in this baking dish, though, if you're going to add raisins to it. And you can sprinkle the top with some nutmeg if you would like. I might do that anyway. I am going to make a caramel sauce to put on top, but I just like the taste of nutmeg. Some people don't like it, but I do. I love it. So I'm going to sprinkle some of that on there. Alright. So there it is. That's what it looks like. And we're going to stick it in the oven at 350. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm going to set the timer for about 30 minutes. And then pull it out and see, because you just want it a little bit jiggly when you pull it out of the oven. Alright, I'll be back when it's done. Oh, so what I wanted to say was the rest of that evaporated milk, I just put in a little jar and stick it in the refrigerator, and then I use it for my coffee. When I have a cup of coffee, I'll then use that up so it doesn't go to waste. Okay, so I just pulled it out of the oven, and you can see it's still really bubbly, but let me show you what. This still looks like it's jiggly, and it looks like it might not be done yet. But it is, and you just have to let it sit until it cools, and it'll finish cooking. So it took 45 minutes for this to cook up, and so we'll just let it sit, because you don't want it to get too overcooked, because it'll just be like a cake type consistency, and it won't be creamy. So you want it to stay a little creamy, so a little jiggly like that. And that's about as much as you want it cooked. So 45 minutes. And when it cools down really well, I'll come back and we'll cut some out, put it in a bowl, and see what it tastes like. Okay, so here it is. It's all cooled. And you can see that it's not quite as jiggly as it was when we first took it out of the oven. I'm going to make a syrup to put on top. A caramel sauce. And for the caramel sauce, what I told you before is 3 tablespoons of butter, melted butter, a half a cup of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of water. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. I put 3 tablespoons of butter in here already in the pot. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of water. I'm going to go over here and heat it up before I put my sugar in. Okay, take you over to the stove. All right, so I'm going to let this butter melt down and heat up just a little bit of water before I put my sugar in. Now this is something I haven't never put on rice pudding before, so this is going to be new for me too. If you haven't never had it, but I'm sure a lot of people have. I've just never had it, caramel sauce on it. I like it just the way it is right now with just a little bit of nutmeg on top. So this is a choice that you have if you would like to add this sauce to the top of your rice pudding. I wouldn't normally make this for my rice pudding, but I thought some of you might like to know how to do it or like to add it. We're just going to make this into a soft, pourable caramel. We're not going to let it set up and get hard. We want it to stay soft. So, melted my butter and heated up my water. So I turned my stove down to medium, between 4 and 5. Alright, add the sugar in, keep stirring it so it don't stick to the bottom. So it looks pretty thick. I think that's probably about what you want. I wouldn't want it to get too much thicker than that. I'm just going to spoon it on top. Well, it looks good. Ooh. I bet it tastes good. Yeah, you don't want. I wouldn't think you'd want to leave it on there too much longer because it is setting up kind of like candy. It's still soft though, so that's what you want. Let's see what it tastes like. You don't want to cook it any longer. It does taste good though. It does taste like caramel. It tastes like caramel. I cut my hair. My husband cut my hair for me. I told him just cut it straight across, and that's what he did. And I like it. Very sweet though. All right. I have my mixer sitting beside of me here, and every time I move something, I hit the bowl, and it makes that big dinging sound. Most of the time I move it, but I didn't today. Let me get a spoon. All right, so let's cut this out. It looks good. Set you up here. It's very custardy. tastes like rice pudding. Now this rice pudding doesn't taste like rice pudding that you buy at the store, like in those little containers. It's not that kind of pudding. It's more of a custard type pudding, and it's really thick. Let's see if I can. You can see the rice in there. It's very sweet though. For myself, I would rather not have the caramel topping on it. It just makes it too sweet. I like it just with the plain, a little bit of nutmeg on top. Can't ever figure out where to show this. That's what it looks like. Tastes really good. Hope you try it. Alright, so I wanted to show you what I got in the mail today, or a couple of days ago, not today. Got my seeds from Baker's Creek for the garden. So here they are, some of the ones that I got. I got several tomato different. I love these here, these Cherokee purples. They're really good. And these here, German pinks, are really good for canning. I got these here peppers. They're barely, looks like as big as your hand. And I got some Chinese cabbage, bok choy. These are different beets. These are long beets. So I wanted to try those. Some little melons. And I got bush beans, contenders, and Blue Lake. I usually do pole beans, but they just don't do good in our soil here. And bush beans do really, really good, so I decided to go with those. And these are blue curled Scotch kale. So I got 2 of those. I mostly got greens, beets, spring and fall crop. And I do have other things from last year, that seeds that I saved, so. And that's it. So I'm excited to get these started. Anyway, I hope you liked today's video, and I hope you try this rice pudding. Woo! And I think for myself, I wouldn't put the caramel on the top. It just makes it too sweet, but that's the way what the recipe called for. And like I said, this is a Civil War recipe from back in the day, and it comes out of Richmond, the recipe. But anyway, take care and count your blessings, and we'll see you next time. Bye.